At its peak, 70% of the American population lived within a 10-minute drive of a Blockbuster. 9,000 stores, every major city, every suburb, hundreds of thousands of employees. By 2013, that number was 50. Not 50%, not 50 cities. 50 stores, total, in the entire country. Something didn't just beat Blockbuster. Something erased it. Store by store, city by city, state by state. Faster than anyone thought possible. This is what that erasure looked like on a map. January 2000, Blockbuster is untouchable. 9,000 stores across America. 60 million members. $6 billion in annual revenue. No competitor within sight. So why are two men flying to Dallas to ask Blockbuster to save them? Their names are Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph. They run a small DVD by mail startup, a few 100,000 subscribers, a website most people have never heard of. They're not coming to compete, they're coming to surrender. They want Blockbuster to buy their entire company for $50 million. At that moment, $50 million was nothing to Blockbuster, a rounding error. John Antioco, Blockbuster's CEO, sits across the table. He listens, he considers the numbers, he considers the two men sitting across from him, and he passes. No deal. No counteroffer. Netflix, in his estimation, was a niche DVD by mail service. Not worth $50 million. Not worth his time. Hastings and Randolph flew back to California empty-handed. They flew back with something more valuable. Confirmation that Blockbuster wasn't paying attention. That company Antioco passed on? It's now worth $300 billion. The $50 million he refused to pay turned out to be the cheapest way Blockbuster could have survived. If this is the kind of history you want to see on a map, subscribe. We trace one empire per week, and the next one is even bigger. But to understand how we got here, you need to go back further. To 1985, to Dallas, to a man with a computer and a single idea that would light up an entire country. In 1985, the video rental industry was chaos. Thousands of independent stores. No standardization, no inventory systems. You'd drive across town, only to find out the movie you wanted wasn't there. So how does someone turn that chaos into 9,000 locations in under 20 years? The answer isn't movies, it's software. David Cook didn't open a video store. He built a database. His first Blockbuster location in Dallas had something no competitor had. A computerized inventory system that tracked every title, every copy, every return. You walked in, you found what you wanted. Every time. That was the entire idea. It worked. Within 2 years, Blockbuster had 15 locations. Then Wayne Huizenga walked in. Huizenga had already built waste management into a $10 billion company by buying small operators and standardizing them at scale. He saw the exact same opportunity in video rental. In 1987, he bought 60% of Blockbuster for $18.5 million. Then he opened a new store every 17 hours. Not every 17 days, every 17 hours. By 89, 700 locations. By 92, 2,000ers. By 94, over 3,600 stores in the United States alone. The map was lighting up. Then Viacom came. In 1994, Viacom, the conglomerate behind MTV and Paramount Pictures, bought Blockbuster for $8.4 billion. It looked like validation, the biggest entertainment company in the world, buying the biggest video rental chain in the world. It wasn't. Viacom needed cash to finance its Paramount acquisition. Blockbuster became the source of that cash. Investment slowed. Debt grew. The foundation cracked. Quietly, invisibly. Huizenga had built a physical infrastructure so vast, so fast, that no competitor could replicate it. But that same infrastructure, thousands of leases, hundreds of thousands of employees, millions of square feet of retail space, would become the thing impossible to escape when the world changed. And the world was already about to change. because of a $40 late fee and one very angry customer. By 1997, Blockbuster was collecting $800 million a year in late fees. $800 million every year. From customers who forgot to return a tape on time. The fees were everywhere, unavoidable, and deeply, personally humiliating. You'd walk up to the counter, hoping the cashier wouldn't mention it. They always did. So why didn't Blockbuster just get rid of them? Because those $800 million weren't extra revenue. They were the revenue. Late fees represented nearly 16% of Blockbuster's entire income. Remove them, and the financial model collapses. Blockbuster knew customers hated the fees. Blockbuster didn't care. The fees were too valuable to touch. That was the addiction. The story Reed Hastings tells goes like this. In 1997, he returned a copy of Apollo 13 6 weeks late. The fine? $40. He paid it. He left. He was furious, not just at the fee, but at the entire experience. The embarrassment of the counter, the feeling of being penalized for simply forgetting. On the way to the gym that day, a thought crossed his mind. The gym doesn't charge you extra for every day you don't show up. You pay a flat monthly fee. You come when you want. No penalties. What if video rental worked the same way? No late fees, no due dates, a flat subscription. Movies delivered to your door. That was the idea that became Netflix. Not a technology breakthrough, not a genius algorithm. A $40 fine, and a man who decided there had to be a better way. Blockbuster handed Reed Hastings the business plan for its own destruction and charged him $40 for it. But here's what makes this stranger than it sounds. By 2005, Blockbuster's own CEO had figured out exactly what was coming. He built a response, and for a brief moment, it was working. John Antioco had seen enough. By 2005, Netflix had crossed 4 million subscribers and was growing fast. The late fee backlash was real. The threat was real. And Antioco, unlike almost everyone around him, was paying attention. So in January of that year, he made two decisions that cost Blockbuster nearly $500 million. First, he launched no more late fees. Every store, nationwide, overnight. $800 million in annual revenue. Gone. By choice. Second, he expanded Blockbuster Online. DVD by mail. No late fees. Delivered to your door. Exactly what Netflix was doing. Except Blockbuster had something Netflix didn't. 9,000 stores. Blockbuster Online members could return their DVDs to any physical location and walk out with a free in-store rental the same day. Netflix couldn't offer that. Netflix had no stores, no counter, no human being to hand you a movie. Blockbuster did. And it worked. Within a year, Blockbuster Online had 2 million subscribers, then 3 million, growing faster than Netflix at the same point in its history. Reed Hastings stood in front of investors and said, publicly on record, that Blockbuster was a serious threat, that he was worried that the competition had become formidable. The company that passed on Netflix in 2000 was, 5 years later, on the verge of winning. What other corporate empire should we map next? Drop it in the comments. The most requested becomes the next video. So why didn't it win? If Blockbuster Online was working, if Netflix was scared, if the strategy was sound, the answer walked into a boardroom in 2005 and bought a significant stake in the company. His name was icahn, one of the most feared investors on Wall Street, a corporate raider, a man who bought struggling companies, cut everything that cost money, and extracted whatever value remained. He looked at Blockbuster Online and saw one thing: expensive. The strategy was burning cash. The return wasn't immediate. Icahn didn't care that it was working. He cared that it wasn't profitable. Yet. So he fought for board seats. He got them. Then he went after Antioco. By 2007, John Antioco, The CEO, who had eliminated late fees, launched Blockbuster online, and scared Netflix, was forced out of the company he'd spent years trying to save. His replacement? Jim Keyes, former CEO of 7-Eleven. Keyes arrived and made his position clear almost immediately. He said publicly, on record, "I've been frankly confused by this fascination that everybody has with Netflix. Netflix doesn't really have or do anything that we can't or don't already do ourselves." Under Keyes, Blockbuster Online was defunded. The in-store exchange program was dismantled. The strategy that had Netflix's own CEO worried was abandoned. Late fees came back. Carl Icahn didn't destroy Blockbuster because he was evil. He destroyed it because he was focused on the wrong number: short-term cash over long-term survival. He later admitted he lost around $100 million on his Blockbuster investment. The man who killed the company lost money doing it. And Netflix, the startup that flew to Dallas to surrender, was now flying alone. By 2007, Blockbuster was carrying $1 billion in debt. The stores were still open, the brand was still recognizable, but the foundation, cracked by Viacom's cash extraction, weakened by icahn's dismantling of the comeback strategy, was collapsing. Then January 2007 happened. Netflix launched streaming. Not DVD by mail, not a physical product, a button. Press play. Movie starts. No shipping. No return. No late fee possible. Blockbuster had no answer. It had no cash to build one. It had no strategy to pivot to. The decision had been made in a boardroom by a CEO who dismissed the competition entirely. In September 2010, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. The company that passed on Netflix for $50 million was sold in bankruptcy to Dish Network for $320 million. Not a triumphant acquisition, a salvage operation. In 2013, Dish announced the closure of all remaining corporate Blockbuster stores. The same map that took 20 years to light up was effectively gone in less than a decade. 3 years after bankruptcy, it was over. City by city, state by state. Almost all the lights went out. Almost. There is one Blockbuster left. Bend, Oregon. Population 100,000. A small city in the high desert east of the Cascades. Sandy Harding has managed this store for over 20 years. She was there when there were 9,000 others just like it. She watched them close one by one until the list came down to 2. Then 1. People drive hours to visit. They come from Portland, from Seattle, from California. They take photos in front of the sign. They browse the shelves. Some of them cry. In 2019, Netflix flew a production team to Bend, Oregon. They turned the last Blockbuster into an Airbnb. A Stranger Things-themed sleepover experience available for one night. The Predator visited the last survivor, and the last survivor charged them a rental fee. Look at this map one more time. 9,000 points of light covering every corner of America, built in 20 years by 2 men with a database and a plan. Gone in less than a decade. The easy version of this story is that Netflix won because of technology, because streaming was inevitable, because Blockbuster was a relic and the future came for it. That version is wrong. Blockbuster had 3 moments where the outcome could have changed. In 2000, they could have bought Netflix for $50 million. They passed. In 2005, they were winning. Blockbuster Online was growing faster than Netflix. Reed Hastings was scared. Carl Icahn dismantled the strategy to protect short-term profit. In 2007, a new CEO arrived, denied the threat, and reversed every decision that had been working. 3 moments, 3 choices. 3 times a human being in a room decided to ignore what was coming. The map didn't empty because the world changed. The map emptied because of decisions. That's what maps reveal. Not just where things were, but where the choices were made that made them disappear. Every empire has a map, and every collapsed empire has a moment, usually quiet, usually in a conference room, usually dressed as caution or cost-cutting, where the map started going dark. Subscribe to Empire Mapped. Next week, we trace an empire that didn't just collapse. It was erased from the map by a single man with an army bigger than most countries on Earth.